Well, good evening, East Alabama and West Georgia. Welcome to more severe weather coverage here on Dr. Don's Weather. We welcome those of you who are listening to us via radio this evening over on God's Country and the Classic across Central and East Alabama. We welcome our radio partners, and we welcome all of you watching us on social media, both on Facebook, YouTube, on Twitter, and over at drdonwx.com, and also on the Dr. Don Weather app. We appreciate all of you being here with us this evening. So it is 7 o'clock on January 14, 2022. Time to talk about the possibility of some snow across Alabama and Georgia. And I have to tell you that confidence levels are increasing with the meteorologists who are in charge of writing the forecast for both the Alabama offices and the Georgia offices because of what I do for my daytime job. I was on a conference or a webinar this afternoon, was able to listen to the thoughts of the meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Atlanta. And they are telling us that their confidence is increasing. There are still uncertainties about this storm, but let's face it, there's always uncertainties about weather, and more particularly about winter weather in the South, because it's not supposed to happen. So we have to really watch very closely as things evolve. It is an extremely fluid situation, and the forecast will still be fine-tuned as we get closer to this event, but I feel pretty confident on the solution that we've worked out up to this point. Unless something drastic happens, I think that most of Central and East Alabama will see snow on Sunday. Up in northeast Georgia, we're talking about significant snowfall there, and could start as early as Saturday night and continue all the way through Sunday night into Monday morning up in the northeast Georgia mountains. So I'm going to show you what I think the snow totals will be given the data that we have right this moment, coming up in just a few moments. But what you're looking at right now is the latest NAM model running in that loop that you see there, and this is showing us we start this loop, I believe we start this at about midnight Saturday night. And then you can see as we get, midnight Friday night. This is during the day on Saturday you're looking at right here. Those yellows are probably a mixture. That's Sunday morning right there. And then here comes that big blue that's going to move across the state of Alabama. And you see right there in East Alabama, we get a pretty decent cover of blue afternoon on Sunday. So I think that's when your best opportunity will be. Now, you certainly could get a mixture of rain and snow at any time on Sunday. But I think you switch over to all snow after 12 noon on Sunday, and you got probably 4, maybe 5 hours of snowfall across East Alabama before all is said and done. Not going to get into the totals just yet. We'll do that in just a few moments. Now, up there in northeast Georgia, the snow could start as early as 10 p.m. Saturday night and continue all the way through 10 p.m. Sunday night, or even lasting into Monday morning. We could see a significant amount of snowfall up there in the northeast Georgia mountains. We have a winter storm watch that's in effect that covers all of North Georgia. It was expanded a couple of hours ago and now includes northwest Georgia as well as northeast Georgia, and it then extends back over to the eastern side of the state and right along the South Carolina state line. Up there in South Carolina, a ice storm warning has been issued. A winter storm warning has also been issued for North and South Carolina. And we anticipate the winter storm watch for northeast Georgia to be upgraded to a winter storm warning at just about any time now. And probably will keep the northwest counties under a watch for the time being, but they could also be updated later as well. Portions of northeast Alabama have been added to a winter storm watch also. So bottom line here, folks, along and north of I-20 is where we think the greatest snowfall potential will be, but you're going to see snowfall all across East Alabama and West Georgia. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So that was the NAM loop. Now let's take a look at some snow totals. There you go. Across East Alabama and West Georgia, typically we're going to be talking about a trace to 1 inch of snow. And that's going to be basically Chambers, Tallapoosa, Coosa, north. Trace to 1 inch. If you're south of Chambers, Tallapoosa, Coosa, you could get a dusting up to about a ½ inch, all the way down to I-85. South of I-85, you may see some snow flurries or snow showers, but you're not going to see any accumulation. Now, notice right there in Clay County and Randolph County, there is some blue. That's the higher elevations of both of these counties, up there in the northeast section of Randolph, and then the northern half of Clay, especially up toward Mount Cheaha. You could locally see 2 inches or maybe even a little bit more in those areas where you see that little dot of blue. Now, up there on top of Mount Cheaha, that's the highest point in the state of Alabama. I would not at all be surprised to see 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 inches of snow on top of the mountain when this is all said and done on Sunday night. So Cheaha's in a world of its own. It's totally different from everybody else. I think we could see some spots of 2-inch accumulation in the northern sections of Clay and the northeast section of Randolph. That could spill over into northwest Heard County and also up there in Carroll County. But generally speaking, across the entire area, we're calling for a trace to 1 inch of snow based on what we know right this moment. That could all change as we get a little bit closer, because we're banking on several things to come into play here to make all of this happen. And I'll say this storm system has the opportunity to overachieve. It has the ability to overachieve. What does that mean? Well, it means that this storm system is going to have the capability of producing more snow than we're calling for at this time, because we're assuming and thinking that the low pressure is going to take a certain track. We're assuming and thinking that the high pressure that's moving down into the New England states, which will provide the cold air, will move to a certain point and stop. If either of those weather systems do something a little bit different by just 50 to 100 miles, this whole thing could change. We could see an increase in snow totals across East Alabama and West Georgia. We could see a decrease in snow coverage. We could see an increase of icing over there in East Georgia. And we could see more snowfall than we even expect now up in northeast Georgia, which is pretty significant at 6 to 7 inches, with localized amounts above 10 inches up in Rabun County. So I'm telling you all this to say, I think that at the very least, we're looking at a trace to 1 inch of snow across East Alabama and West Georgia. Atlanta Metro, maybe a little bit more than that, somewhere maybe between 1 and 2 inches. And then up there, up there in northeast Georgia, 6 to 7 inches of snow, with some localized areas getting over 10 inches of snow. There's some computer models out there, and actually the National Weather Service office at Greenville-Spartanburg is suggesting upwards of 12 inches in extreme northeast Rabun County from about Clayton north and east up there in extreme northeast Georgia. So that's where the bullseye is going to be as far as snow is concerned. And then just across the state line up there around Franklin, North Carolina, back over toward the Highlands, maybe up to 15 inches of snow before this is over with. So pretty incredible stuff right there. But understand that we're still banking on certain things to happen, but just a slight shift in all of this could change things drastically. The low pressure now we think is going to take the southern route, which would be across South Alabama and back across South Georgia. That will give us a pretty decent snow across Alabama and Georgia. If it were to take the northern route and come across maybe Birmingham or just south of Birmingham, then over to around Atlanta, then that's going to push that cold core further north. So from just south of where the low pressure system tracks and on to the south, you would expect mostly rain. and along the track of the low pressure system and to the north is where the cold air would be. So you would expect a mixture close to the low, and then at the further north you go, it would be all snow. Now, we've got to wait until we get this low pressure system at least into Mississippi. All right, so it's coming in from the northwest. And so we got to get it at least into Mississippi and start to see where it's going to make that left-hand turn and come back toward Alabama before we're absolutely certain what it's going to do. Right now, we're thinking it's going to turn at a certain point based on other blocking weather features to the north. But again, we're trying to get down to an exact science here, and we just don't have the technology to do that just yet. So that's why this has been such a difficult forecast up to this point, but confidence is increasing. What you see on the screen right there is what we're probably going to see. Some folks are going to be disappointed. Others are going to be thrilled and surprised at the amount of snow that they receive once we get into Sunday night and into early Monday morning. So that's the snow totals we're talking about right there. You see it on the screen. And so now I want to show you a couple of graphics. This first graphic I'm going to show you is the National Weather Service office at Birmingham. This is the impact areas that they have gone with so far this evening, with the impacts being limited, and that means that they're not anticipating any major travel problems. Even if most of you in East Alabama and West Georgia see a trace to 1 inch, that's going to be on cold surfaces. It's going to be on the rooftops, roof and the hood of your car, on the rooftops of your home, out there on the patio, the grassy areas. That's where the accumulation is going to be. We don't anticipate a trace to 1 inch accumulation on the roadway. So travel issues are not likely to happen in East Alabama and West Georgia. North of I-20, and the further north you go from there, the better the chances will be that we may see some slippery roadways. And again, we could see some accumulation up there around 1 inch as well, some localized 2 inches. I know they've got a ½ inch on here, but this graphic was actually produced early this afternoon, and things have changed a little bit since then. The confidence level has gone up a little bit. The snow totals have gone up a little bit, and the ice totals have come down a little bit, which is good news for Georgia. Because that's where we thought we were going to get hammered. And I still think we're going to have problems with ice, but maybe not quite as bad as we originally thought. All right, so that's Birmingham's latest graphic. Let's go to Atlanta. This is the winter storm watch that was issued this afternoon about 3:30 Eastern, which now covers areas along and south of I-85 all the way back down to Athens. For you folks over in Georgia that are watching us this evening or listening to us on the radio, understand that the big national championship celebration will take place in Athens on Saturday. No weather woes Saturday in Athens. However, as soon as the celebration at the stadium is over, find your way back home if you're going to be anywhere in central or north Georgia, central or north Alabama, because you don't want to get caught in this mess. Come on down, celebrate, but as soon as the celebration is over, you need to exit Athens and find your way back home as soon as you can. Sorry, Alabama folks. I just had to throw that in there right quick, though, because we do have quite a few folks over in Georgia who watch and listen to us. So with the winter storm watch continues for North Georgia. There's a couple of counties there up in northeast Georgia that you don't see colored, but that's because they are covered by the Greenville-Spartanburg National Weather Service office. This is an Atlanta graphic, so that's why they're not colored in, but they are actually under a winter storm warning already, and I anticipate those blue counties to go to a winter storm warning pretty much any time this evening. As a matter of fact, I'm checking my phone to see if we have anything from the Weather Service, because it literally should come out pretty much any time. So that's the deal there. Now, there's one other graphic from Atlanta I wanted to show you. And so the areas you see there in orange, those are going to be the highest impact areas in the state of Georgia. Basically from Blairsville down to Gainesville, down to Athens, and back over to Canton. The orange areas will be impacted as well, but not quite as severely as the orange area. And then that green area is going to expect minor impacts. Light accumulation expected in those green areas. And if you continued that green line over into Alabama, you can kind of see what we're talking about. Basically, from Roanoke south, we're just expecting minor impacts, light accumulation of snow expected in those areas, and travel impacts are not expected. You take that orange area and continue it over into Alabama from just north of Roanoke all the way up through Wedowee, up to Woodland, and then over into Clay County from about Ashland up to Lineville, all the way up to Delta and north up to I-20. Impacts are expected to be impactful accumulations of snow and possibly even a little ice, but I don't anticipate much icing in East Alabama. Travel disruptions will be possible, and you need to stay tuned for your forecast. So, I know I said just a few moments ago I didn't expect travel problems in Alabama, but it depends on which National Weather Service office you watch. And the best idea is to be on the safe side and prepare so that you don't have to get out and travel Sunday. So just in case this storm does overachieve and we get more than we thought we were going to get, you won't have a problem. So anything that you need to do, go ahead and do it before this stuff starts on Sunday. Again, you could have a mixture on Sunday morning in East Alabama and West Georgia, but I don't think you change over to all snow until in the afternoon. I'll show you that on the graphic coming up in just a few moments. All right, so, let's just go ahead and take that. And I'm going to try to describe this the best I can for those of you listening on radio this evening. So let's go to the Southern Union State Community College Live Doppler HD radar. This is actually our next rad Futurecast radar, showing you what we think is going to happen down the road. So for those of you watching on social media, the green is rain, the red is freezing rain, the blue and the white is snow. So we start this loop at Saturday at 12 noon. That's 12 noon on Saturday. We'll just take it forward, and you see that we have nothing but rain across Alabama at that time. As we get into about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we still have some rain, very light rain across East Alabama. By the time we get to 3 p.m., we start to see a little white show up there in northeast Georgia. So the highest elevations of northeast Georgia up on the mountaintops could start to see a mixture of rain and snow as early as 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. We still have nothing but rain falling across East Alabama and West Georgia at this time. Then we move forward to about 4 p.m. That area of snow broadens out a little bit up there in northeast Georgia, stretching back into South Carolina and up into North Carolina. We still have a cold rain across East Alabama, stretching all the way back over to around Atlanta. And then we head out there to around 5:30. That snow growth continues up there in northeast Georgia. Still just a cold rain in East Alabama. We'll go ahead and continue this loop. We're going to go all the way out to 8:30. The heavier rain starts to move into East Alabama around 8:30 on Saturday night. Snow continues up there in the North Georgia mountains. And then we start to see maybe an area of snow developing back toward Atlanta Metro by about 9:30 on Saturday night. That would be right along that Highway 400 corridor, stretching back over to 985. So we could be seeing some snow there around 9:30 to 9:45 on Saturday night. We still have rain across East Alabama. So we're going to kind of fast forward this out to around midnight Saturday night. Snow continues across the North Georgia mountains. I think we have good snow going by midnight, maybe even a little freezing rain out there as well at midnight on Saturday night. Still nothing across East Alabama except for rain. But notice how far south this stuff is diving over here in Mississippi. Maybe all the way down to New Orleans. We could be seeing some snow flurries or a mixture. Actually, this radar says we have freezing rain in New Orleans at midnight Saturday night. I don't know that I believe that, but maybe a little mixture going on down there. All right, so we're out to 1 a.m. Things are continuing to develop across northeast Georgia. Here we go at about 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. We've got full-blown snow across north Georgia from about I-75 back off to the east and northeast. Maybe some freezing rain and mixture going on as well from Aiken, South Carolina, all the way back up to I-85 in Georgia. We still have mostly rain in East Alabama, but, you know, after about 4 a.m., we cannot rule out a snowflake or two mixed in with the snow there in East Alabama. Here we go at 7 a.m. A big area of freezing rain from Atlanta back to Aiken, South Carolina, almost all the way up there to Jacksonville, North Carolina, stretching back to Charlotte. Big snow area up there in northeast Georgia, all the way back up to the north of Charlotte, North Carolina. And again, even though we're showing green here, you could have a mixture of rain and snow going on in East Alabama by this time. We head out to around 9:30. The snow growth and the ice continues across northeast Georgia. Notice right there around Birmingham at around 9:30 Sunday morning, we start to see some blue around Metro Birmingham. So we could start to see a switch over to all snow around 9:30, 10 o'clock on Sunday morning across central Alabama. And that's what you've been waiting for. There it is. What is it? Oop, there it is. There's your snow, East Alabama, and it's in here at about 12 noon, between 12 and 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. The blue is the heavier snow. The white is, you know, that could be moderate at times. But you see right there, basically from I-65 up there at Decatur, maybe I-59 up there at Lookout Mountain, up around Fort Payne, Chattanooga, stretching back down 59 all the way down to I-20. That's pretty good snowfall. And then from I-20 all the way down to basically the southern end of Randolph County and the southern end of Clay County, you got some decent snow taking place right there at about 12:30 or 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Now, this model shows that it breaks up and it goes back to rain, then it turns back to snow down there around Montgomery. Don't believe that. I think it's probably solid. You can't look at exact placement on these Futurecast radars, but you get a general idea that we will have snow blowing around 12:30 or 1 o'clock Sunday from Decatur, potentially all the way down to the Alabama-Florida state line. That is just crazy. I don't really think the snow line drops that far south at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but I think Montgomery is plausible. It would just be flurries in Montgomery. I don't think you would see any accumulation down there at all. And again, in case you're just joining me, across East Alabama and West Georgia, for the most part, a trace to 1 inch. Localized locations, higher elevations could see up around 2 inches of snow. And that would be on cold surfaces, not on the roadway. So let's move forward. Here we go at 3:30 on Sunday afternoon. You still got snow across East Alabama and West Georgia. So if this model is correct, now you've been in the snow for about 3 hours so far, and we're not done yet. Look at that. Here we go at 6 p.m. You still got snow showers across East Alabama. They're going to be pretty light in nature, but they're still there. And then as we head out to around 9 o'clock Sunday night, we still have some snow showers in the area as this whole system begins to wind down. Now, by this time, we have gotten hammered up here in northeast Georgia. Let me back up and go through that scenario again. This is the GFS2. Wait a minute. I don't want to tell you wrong. Let me make sure about that. No, this is the NAM. This is not the high-resolution NAM, but this is the NAM. So it is showing a good snow across North Georgia, maybe a little ice mixed in with it as well. Basically, north of I-20 in Georgia is where we expect to see, if we have issues, that's where we anticipate the issues to be. North of I-20, mostly ice between I-20 and I-85, though by the time you get up there to around Athens, I think you're going to start to see more of a snow freezing rain mix, and I think it will be more snow than freezing rain up around Athens. And then as you get north of I-85, you're going to turn over to all snow. I know that we're showing some freezing rain up there north of I-85 at 6:45 a.m. on Sunday morning, but I think it's going to be more snow than ice based off what I've been looking at. And then as throughout the day, I mean, it's just nonstop across northeast Georgia. Maybe late in the day we switch over to a little freezing rain, but then by about 3 p.m. we go back to all snow, and that continues right on through the evening hours and actually goes to about 2 or 3 a.m. Monday morning if this particular model verifies. So that's kind of what we're looking at, folks. Again, to summarize, we're talking about snowfall. I think probably a trace to 1 inch for most locations across East Alabama and West Georgia. Localized 2 inches, certainly possible. Higher elevations. I don't anticipate a lot of travel issues across East Alabama and West Georgia unless you're in high elevation areas such as Mount Cheahaw. Now, if everybody's getting the bright idea to run up on top of the mountain, you better get up there early on Sunday before the snow starts. And the snow will start up there much sooner than it will down at the other elevations across the area. So, you know, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see snow falling on top of Mount Cheahaw at daybreak Sunday. And it probably won't take long for the roads up there on the top of the mountain to get kind of messed up, even though they do maintain those roads pretty well. They have to because they have a lodge and a resort up there. But if you have plans of going to Mount Cheahaw to see the snow, to see some real snow, I would get up there as early as I could on Sunday, because if you don't, you run the risk of not being able to get up there. And if you go up there, just understand that you run the risk of not being able to get off the mountain as well. If you're going up there and you're going to spend the night, of course, you're perfectly fine. But if you're just going to go up there for the day, keep in mind, if you take that chance, there is also a possibility you might not be able to get off the mountain. So keep that in mind before you make the decision to do that. And if you do, and you don't have a way of getting a room up there, then make sure you carry a lot of warm clothes, some sleeping bags, and some food, just in case you get stuck. I suggest you don't do that, but I know some of you, and I know what you're going to do. So unless you have a room, you need to give that a whole lot of thought. All right, so I'm going to, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause for just a couple of seconds and allow our radio stations to break away. Because our next segment is our question and answers segment, where we read the post in the chat room and answer your questions. I'll tell you folks over on the radio side that I will do a live update again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. Central. We will do another live update for our radio listeners over there on God's Country and the Classic across Central Alabama and East Alabama. Thank you guys for joining us over there on the radio. I'm going to stand by just for a second to let our engineers switch back to regular programming, and then I'll be back and we'll do a Q&A session. So stay with us on Dr. Don's Weather. All right, homies, I'm back with you, and so what I'm going to do now is run up here and give some shout-outs and answer questions. If any of you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. I have not seen anything you've posted so far. I'm going to scroll back up a little bit, but if you posted when I first started, I can't go back that far, so you might want to post your question again. Thank you, Beverly Pike. Appreciate you. Woodland's in the house. Pam Ford's watching us. this evening. Good evening to you, Miss Ford. Let's see. Myrna Longshore is in here watching us this evening. Also, here's a what does it look like for me? That's a Facebook user question. What does it look like for me? We are in the 6 to 7 inch range up here in North Georgia. Let me go back to that graphic. There it is. Where you see that 6 to 7 inches up there, I'm just north. I'm just north of that 6 to 7. I actually am right there on the south end of where we could see up to 10 inches. So even 7, 8, or 9 inches at my house would not be a shocker. Again, folks, understand this storm system could overachieve if that low pressure system keeps that southern track, or maybe if it dips a little further south than expected. And if that high pressure over the New England states is colder than expected, it could potentially pull that CAD, or cold air damming system, in here sooner. It could be colder, therefore our snow could start sooner, and it could be more of it. So there is a big opportunity here for this storm system to overachieve. Now, I will balance that with saying this. As there is with every snow setup we have across the South, there is a bust factor, meaning that if this low pressure system comes barreling in here and it turns and goes across North Alabama and the CAD's not as strong as the computers are telling us it's going to be, we could see a cold rain. I'm talking about everywhere across Alabama and Georgia. So there is a bust factor with this storm system, but again, there's a bust factor with every storm system. I think we're going to see snow. The question is, we may be underdoing it a little bit. I'll just say that. This could be a big one. Delta up there in Clay County, yeah, you're going to be in that trace to 1 inch area, maybe a little bit more in Delta. And there will be some, like I said, folks, there will be some spots of over 1 inch. As some folks are going to be surprised, and they're going to be very happy if they're snow lovers, because there will be some pockets of 2 inch snow across East Alabama and West Georgia. I'm just saying overall we're looking at a trace to 1 inch. So Delta, you're in one of those areas that maybe could get a little bit more than 1 inch of snow. And you're right there at Mount Cheahaw, so you're not as high as Mount Cheahaw, but you're right there at it. Yeah, get that milk and bread. We got to have milk and bread sandwiches, for sure. Same for Woodland, trace to 1 inch. Some localized areas could see close to 2 inches, but Woodland, you're up on the northeast side of Randolph County, so you're at a higher elevation up there on the hill. So a little more than 1 inch would not surprise me. There's Mr. Alan Whaley up in TN Shop. Same for you up there. You're in a higher elevation as well. So, you know, I would expect the accumulating snow to really start around Tin Shop or Potash Ridge and go north in Randolph County. I'm not saying Roanoke's not going to get maybe a little dusting. Roanoke's definitely going to see snow. I just think the better accumulations will probably start up there on that ridge, Broughton Ridge, all the way across Potash Ridge, and moving north up there around Big Springs. That you go up in elevation as you go up into north and northeast Randolph County. Diane Farr is watching us this evening. What about 1362 Dogwood Circle? Well, I just happen to know exactly where that's at. Yeah, I can do you a pinpoint forecast for that location for sure. Yeah, probably a dusting to a half inch, maybe 1 inch. Who knows? I mean, you're going to see snow. And I don't anticipate you seeing more than 1 inch. But it's possible. Again, this storm could overachieve. That was a good one. Lawrence, South Carolina. Oh, let's see here. Give me just a second. Well, it's 103 miles from where I'm at, so you're not going to be far from it. Let me get back over there to it. Okay, so you are south. You're southeast of Greenville and due south of Spartanburg. Right there, just south of 385. Let me bring this loop forward right quick. All right. Yeah, you're in one of those areas where you could see some pretty good, freezing rain. Sorry, I'm trying to do 15 things at one time here. So you're in one of those areas where you're right on the line. Actually, hang on a second. But you're close enough. So yeah, I would be preparing for the possibility of some power outages over there in Lawrence, South Carolina. It could very well be that you get a good bit of ice right there. So listen to your local National Weather Service office, your local emergency management agency, your local officials, and whatever they're telling you, that's what you need to go with. But I do see a pretty good bit of freezing rain possible for your area as we head into Sunday morning. Alexander City. Yeah, you're going to see snow. You won't see as much accumulation as the counties to the north of you, but you will see snow. Possibly a dusting down there in Alexander City. Wedowee, a trace to 1 inch, possibly a little bit more. Praying the power stays on. I don't really anticipate a problem with the power across East Alabama and West Georgia from the snow. And I don't anticipate you seeing a lot of freezing rain or ice. Of course, all that could change. If this low pressure system were to come up and take that northern track, then that might change you over to a couple of hours of freezing rain. But the thing that does concern me as far as power outages are concerned is going to be the wind. Now, the wind is going to be gusting 20 to 30, maybe 35 miles per hour. Up here in the northeast Georgia mountains, our forecast is 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gust. Now, that would be up on the highest peaks up on the Appalachian chain. It wouldn't be down in the valleys, but still, it wouldn't take much ice load at all for wind gust of 20 to 35 miles per hour to take down some trees. And, of course, when trees come down, so do power lines. So I'm not really concerned about much in the way of power outages across East Alabama and West Georgia from snow. But if we were to get a little more snow than expected, if we were to get a little more ice than expected, and then those winds kick in, that could be a problem. The snow or ice in East Alabama on its own wouldn't cause power outages in this case because you're not going to get that much. But you factor in the wind, and that becomes a little more of a possibility. So we're going to certainly have to keep an eye on that. Joe Hawker, what about my mom's town? You would be talking about Blairsville, Georgia. Yeah, up there on the north side of the mountain, they may see 7, 8, 9 inches of snow. They're actually going to, but they may see a little bit of ice up there too because the cold air damming that we're talking about generally builds up on the back side of the mountain. Blairsville is on the north side of the mountain. So temperatures may be a little bit warmer up there during the daylight hours on Sunday, which means that Blairsville, Union County, back over to Young Harris, Hiawassee, may change over to a couple of 3 or 4 hours of freezing rain. Maybe. We'll have to see exactly what the track of the low is. But there is that possibility that on the north side of the mountain, we could see a switch over to freezing rain for several hours on Sunday, while the south side of the mountain would stay all snow because that's where the cold air will be damming up to the backside of the mountain. So maybe that answered your question. LaGrange, yeah, over there in West Georgia, a trace to 1 inch. Some localized areas a little bit higher than that. New Hope, just northeast of downtown Wedowee, a trace to 1 inch. You're up there in the higher elevation of Randolph, so a little over 1 inch would not surprise me. Cragford over in Clay County, pretty much the same, a trace to 1 inch. Piedmont, Alabama, you're probably going to be in that 1 inch category, maybe a little bit more. Heflin, same thing. No, I did not buy up all the milk and bread futures. As a matter of fact, I didn't think I was going to even be able to find any milk or bread, but we did. We did find a store that had a little bit left, so we got all the essentials anyway. Wadley, you're at a trace to 1 inch. Carrollton, you're at a trace to 1 inch, though you're up there on the hill too, so maybe you see a little more than an inch. We'll see. Hartwell, Georgia. Hey, Johnny Murdoch, I would be a little bit concerned over there in Hartwell, right there on the South Carolina state line. You're in one of my counties, over there in Hart County, or you may be in Franklin, I'm not sure, but yeah, the snow totals don't look as bad as they did this time. I'm sorry, the ice totals do not look as bad today as they did this time yesterday for East Georgia, but it's still there. I think a 1/4 inch of ice is plausible for the Hartwell, Georgia area. But again, my concern is the same for you. When that wind kicks in on Sunday, if we get wind gusts of 20 to upwards of 30, 35 miles per hour, and if you've got a 1/4 inch of ice glazing over there, that is going to cause problems. So if I live in Hartwell, Georgia, I have plans for losing power. And the best way to tell you how to do that is prepare for a 3-day primitive camping trip. You're out in the middle of the woods in a tent. That's all you got. What would you take with you? That's what you need to have ready to go this weekend in the event you lose power over there in Hartwell. Hopefully, the low-pressure system will track even a little further south than expected, and that would keep you in all snow and would lessen the ice threat. The further north that low-pressure system tracks, the greater your ice threat's going to be there over East Georgia, unless it tracks right over you or just north of you, and then you'd be in all rain. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see frozen precipitation. Let's just hope it takes that southernmost track and gives you more snow than freezing rain. Let's see here. Expecting snow prizes in Randolph County. Well, I'll just tell you again that this storm system has the potential of overachieving. So it certainly could end up giving us more than what we think at this point. If you have medical issues in Hartwell, I don't know what your particular. I tell you what you need to do. You need to contact your local emergency management agency and talk to them. I know a lot of places up here are working with folks that are on oxygen to make sure they know who they are, they know where they are, so that they can get help to them in the event they start running low on their oxygen. But if you are concerned about having health issues and losing power, maybe you're one of those that has oxygen, you should have extra portable bottles. Your supplier should supply that to you. But nonetheless, you might want to contact your local emergency management agency and talk to them about your particular situation. Thank you all for the kind words. I appreciate that. Wadley and Roanoke area, trace to 1 inch is what we expect. Some localized areas could, or you could see some localized spots that has 2 inches. But for the most part, I think you're going to see a trace to 1 inch. Potash Ridge, you're going up the mountain up there or going up the hill. So you could probably be on the upper end of that trace to 1 inch. Blue Ridge, Georgia. Yeah, I think Blue Ridge is going to get a decent snow out of this, probably in the 5 to 6 inch range. You're welcome, Cindy. Yeah, again, Johnny, I can't tell you for sure if you're going to have issues with power. I'll tell you that you're in the area that possibly could. If we get the ice accumulation that is forecast right now, which is about 1/4 of an inch, that in itself wouldn't be an issue, but the winds, that's going to be the problem on Sunday. We get that howling wind at 20 to 30, 35 miles per hour. With 1/4 inch of ice on the trees and power lines, we're going to have some power problems. And you live in that area of concern. So it is certainly possible that you will lose power on Sunday. Ashland, Alabama, trace to 1 inch. So here's what Tracy does. Producer Tracy. Yeah, she monitors the room, makes sure that I don't miss anything. And she has been known to fix a pot of coffee from time to time. Here's the problem with that. The smell of coffee makes her nauseous. She can't stand the smell of it. Well, I can't function without it for the most part. So she has to put up with that. And occasionally she will make a pot of coffee for me. The night we had the tornado over in Wadley, that was one of those nights. I was up to my elbows in alligators, and she was feeding me coffee. Wadley, Corinth community, a trace to 1 inch. It would be my prediction. Piedmont, again, you're up there a little higher elevation. You're up there just north of I-20. You may be in that 1 to 2 inch category up there. Commerce, Georgia, you're looking at probably that's right there along I-85. You could be in the 3 to 6 inch range there in Commerce. We got some strawberry preserves and white lily flour. We're going to eat biscuits and preserves. Well, Miss Elaine, I'm coming to your house. Solve that problem. Let's see here. What else we got? I got you, Johnny. You're in Hartwell, Georgia. That's over there just northeast of Royston. On the south end of Lake Hartwell. I know right where you're at. Omaha, Alabama. That's over in Randolph County. Plenty of coffee. Ashland wants snow. I'm going to try to get you some, Miss Brenda. We're working on it for you. Yeah, Robin, absolutely. There's There's a great statement right there. Now, yeah, you're going to get me on a soapbox now. All right, so folks, do not call 911 to report your power is out, or to tell 911 that it is snowing outside. Leave those 911 lines open for emergencies. There's absolutely nothing 911 can do to help you get your power back on. That's an Alabama, Georgia Power, or local co-op issue. And 911 does not have some magic connection with the power company that can help get your power back on. So it does no good to call 911. All that does is tie the lines up and keep folks who really need 911 for an emergency from getting through. So it ties up the dispatchers. So please don't do that. And keep those first responders in your thoughts and prayers as we go throughout this weekend, especially in those areas that are going to get the heaviest amount of snow and ice. And you all of you can do one thing that will help them tremendously. Are you ready for this? I'm going to tell you what you can do now, so I want you to listen. Stay home. Don't get out there on the road to go riding around looking at snow. It's just as white in your front yard as it is down the street. Trust me. Snow is snow is snow. Because here's what happens, and I had this conversation with the fire chief up here just this afternoon. Typically what happens up here in northeast Georgia, when we get a good snow, the first 2 hours, our emergency services are tapped out dealing with automobile accidents, most of them which are minor. They're mostly folks who have slid off in the ditch, but it ties up the emergency services trying to get these folks out of their vehicle, and you can't get the vehicle out because the wrecker can't get to you because the roads are covered with snow. So the only thing that can happen is we send a rescue unit to you, a truck that's got chains on there. They're going to put you in the vehicle, and they're going to take you to the closest store or to Huddle House or somewhere where you can at least be warm until the road's get in good enough condition for somebody to come get you. And then you're going to pay an outrageous wrecker bill for them to come get your vehicle after it quits snowing. They're not going to do it while it's snowing. So the best idea for you, when it starts snowing, please stay home. Stay off the roads. That will help our first responders more than you will ever know. That's a big problem, especially up here. And I know it's a problem across East Alabama, too. Now, I don't anticipate you getting that kind of snow in East Alabama. I think, for the most part, your roads are going to be fine. So this soapbox preaching, thank you, Robin, is pretty much aimed at the folks in the areas that will receive most of the snow this weekend. And I think that's North Georgia and particularly Northeast Georgia. But you bring up a very valid point. How many inches of snow will North Georgia get? Northeast Georgia, probably generally speaking, in the 6 to 8 inch range. That may be a little high. Let's go 5 to 7 inches, generally speaking. And that would be from about Gainesville north. Now, up there in Rabun County, if the models are right, we could see 10 plus inches of snow, especially the northeast corner of Rabun County. You know where 76 goes through Clayton, runs over the mountain back over to Hiawassee. Basically from 76 north in Rabun, you could see more than 10 inches of snow. Arkansas. Jody, I am sorry. I have not had a chance to really take a look at what may happen over there. But, I mean, looking at the radar loop here, it looks like some pretty good snow. Now, your snow in Arkansas is going to probably start prior to this loop because this is at like 12 noon on Saturday. You got snow in Springfield, Missouri, all the way down to Fort Smith, Arkansas. And so, well, that's coming right into the extreme northwest corner of the state. And then if we loop it forward, yeah, it looks like northwest Arkansas, north of I-40, north of Fort Smith, is going to get some pretty good snow right there. And that's going to continue. It's going to drop on down toward Memphis. Yeah, it looks like Arkansas. Some portions of Arkansas could see 4 plus, maybe 5 plus inches, 4 to 5 inches of snow. I don't know what your local forecast is calling for, but just glancing at the model run there, I would think there would be some pretty decent snowfall up there in Arkansas. Maybe the repo man will stay at home. Maybe so. Pine Mountain, Georgia. Now, you're at a higher elevation over there, too. So, you're probably in the 1 inch range over there at Pine Mountain, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a little more than that. Yes, Andy, it is very live. LaGrange is in the trace to 1 inch. Ranburne, Alabama. Yeah, trace to 1 inch will be good there. Wilkes County, Georgia. It's another one of my counties, I think. Hang on. I mean, I know Wilkes County is one of my counties. Let's see. No. That's not Wilkes County. I'm sorry. That's over there just east of Rome. Okay, let's see here. You over around Pine Log. Yeah, you're probably in the 2 to 4 inch area. 2 to 4 inches of snow there. Lisa, if you're asking the question, how much ice to expect, I'm assuming you're talking about East Alabama. I'm not really sure. If you're talking about East Alabama, I don't anticipate a lot of ice in East Alabama. There could be a little bit of icing, but I think you stay well less than a 1/4 inch. Probably just like 1/10 of an inch or less. So icing shouldn't be a problem in East Alabama or West Georgia based on the current forecast and the data that we have right now. All of this could change, folks. Keep that in mind. It could change. Cheaha Mountain. I talked about that a few minutes ago, but I'll touch on it again because I know what you folks fixing to do. I can feel it. I know what all of you are fixing to do. You're fixing to rush up to Mount Cheaha to see some snow, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I think you're going to want to get up there early on Sunday. And if you don't have somewhere to stay on the mountain, if you don't have reservations up there, you're going to run a risk of not being able to get off the mountain. Because 6 to 7 inches of snow at the very top of the mountain would not surprise me at all. You got to understand, Mount Cheaha is the highest point in the state of Alabama. That's a totally different world up there on top of that mountain. And they will go under snow. I mean, it could start snowing up there daybreak Sunday morning and snow all day long. Could be fairly similar to what we're looking at up here in northeast Georgia, just because of the elevation. So keep that in mind. It's a great idea, and there's nothing wrong with it as long as you can get up there and get back out without getting stranded. That's the thing. And they keep that road in pretty good shape going up on the mountain. But if you were to get a burst of very heavy snow for a couple, 2 or 3 hours, it may be quite some time before they can get the road in a good enough shape for you can get off, so you can get off the mountain. Just understand that. Miss Pam down there in Auburn, I think you're probably looking at best. You're probably looking at a dusting. Given the current data that we have, you're right there on the I-85 corridor. And I think we're probably looking at, if you get any accumulation at all in Auburn, it's probably going to be just a dusting. we'll fine tune that if that were to change as we get a little bit closer to the event. Absolutely, I can go over the timing again. We're East Alabama and West Georgia. It's probably going to be after 12 noon before you see any significant snow. You certainly could see a mixture of rain and snow in the morning hours, anytime after daybreak. But I think it will be noon, probably noon-ish, probably before you change over to all snow or become predominantly snow. I think we're looking at noon, 1 p.m., something like that on Sunday. And up here in northeast Georgia, we could start seeing snow as early as late Saturday night. And that would be the extreme northeast corner of the state. And then as the sun comes up on Sunday morning, then that snow line will start dropping back to the south and southwest. Probably by mid-morning Sunday, we would expect to see snow from Atlanta north. And then by noon, that may stretch back into East Alabama and West Georgia. Again, folks, there are two major players here that's going to make this happen or make this not happen. And we've got to get both of those systems in place and see how they're developing before we can have, 100% confidence here. But I'll tell you, confidence is a lot higher today than it was this time yesterday. Dallas, Georgia, same thing for you. You're right there along I-20. You're probably in the 1-inch range, but maybe a little over that up there in Dallas. All right. Right. So I for some reason, I can't see some of you. All I see is Facebook user. I've got to get with my technical guru and figure out why that's doing that. So somebody posted, thank you for the education on 911, Dr. Don. That is much needed. That was a much needed message. You're more than welcome. I spent 6 years in a 911 center. And I have worked many snow events in a 911 center. I know what happens. I know how it goes. And trust me, folks, in most 911 centers, you got 4 people. The bigger cities have more. But generally speaking, in most rural settings across Alabama and Georgia, you got 4 to 5 people. And they're working every public safety entity in that county. And so when a snow event like this starts, you got wrecks everywhere. So all those dispatchers are just blown away, especially the first 3 or 4 hours. I mean, they are just blown away. And then folks start calling, wanting to report power outages and ask about how much snow they're going to get or to tell 911 that it is snowing. And they get overwhelmed. So try real hard to, okay, so that is my technical guru. See, look at the screen. Producer Tracy's here. That is my technical guru that's on Facebook, and I can't see who it is. I kind of thought it might be because he says, Tracy helps with everything. She is the best producer. You know that he butters people up like that. That's what he does. He does that. He's very good at it, too. He will fluff everything. It's a fluffer. Okay, all right, well, so on my end, Mr. Jonathan Jones, you are showing up as Facebook user. So I'm going to need you to start researching that so we can get that fixed. And it hasn't always done that. That's just started in the last couple of times I've gone live. So I'm going to need you to have that fixed before I finish here in just a few minutes. Miss Carolyn Battles, she says, please direct any ice or snow away from West Point Street. All right, so here's what I'm going to do, Carolyn. I'm going to send it out to Dogwood Circle because They're asking for snow out there, so we're going to take whatever you had scheduled for West Point Street, and we're going to send it back out there to the Country Club Estates. Lee, Chambers, Randolph. It will, out of those three counties, trace to 1 inch in Randolph. Chambers probably looking at a trace to a ½ inch. Lee, you're probably looking at a dusting. Based on what we know right now, folks, by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, this whole thing may completely change. That's why you need to make sure you join me tomorrow morning for my live update. I'll have the very latest. Okay, so Tracy, you're showing up as Facebook user also, by the way. If that was you that responded to the little boy. Okay. His nickname now, by the way, is Sissy Ant. Now, look, you've all of you done this. You know, you get fat fingers when you're texting. You misspell stuff. You know how spell checks just is the worst thing that they ever came up with. I don't remember exactly what it was he was trying to tell me, but it came out Sissy Ant. Sissy Ant. So that is his new nickname. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. Lisa's asking a question. When would we expect the rain to turn into ice, snow in Commerce? Probably around or shortly after sunrise Sunday morning. But again, it all depends on how strong that CAD system is that will be coming back in from the northeast. The cold air damming. If that high pressure is a little bit stronger than we're anticipating, then colder air would invade Commerce, Georgia earlier, so you could turn over to snow earlier. But right now, the best timing we can give you probably somewhere around sunrise or shortly after for Commerce, Georgia. For those of you who don't know, Commerce is on I-85 right there at the southern end of Banks County and the northern end of Jackson County over in Georgia. That's where the outlet malls are. Going up I-85. That's Commerce, Georgia. What about Roanoke? Trace to 1 inch is what we expect in Roanoke. Another good suggestion, if you have icing or snow in your area, especially if there are power outages, you're going to want to check with your elderly neighbors and make sure that they're taken care of. That's a very good suggestion. And go ahead now before this whole thing starts and make contact with that person. Let them know that you're concerned about them, and just let them know that you're going to be checking on them just to make sure they're okay, and do that. It's a very good suggestion. Also, think about your pets. You're going to have a place for your pets to get them out of this weather. You know, cold. I know pets are acclimated to cold temperatures up to a certain point, but you throw in a lot of moisture, a lot of snow, a lot of ice, and especially with that wind that we're anticipating, then it becomes very dangerous for your pets also. Jackson County, Georgia, that's just south of the area we were just talking about. Actually, part of Commerce is in Jackson County. I'm thinking you're probably in the 2 to 4 inch category. You may stand a better chance of seeing a little more ice than North Georgia, extreme North Georgia. You could potentially get into that 1/4 inch icing area there in Jackson County. And then you could get 2 to 4 inches of snow also, I think. So Jackson County is in that corridor there between 85 and 20 that we are somewhat concerned about because of icing and wind. So you do need to be prepared, Miss Kathy, for power outages. And again, like I said just a few moments ago, prepare for a 3-day primitive camping trip. You're putting a tent out in the woods with no electricity, no water, no nothing. So what would you carry with you? That's what you need to have with you as we head into Sunday. Oxford, Alabama, probably on the upper end of that 1 inch range. Jacksonville, Alabama, same thing. I mean, it's likely you could see 1 to 1.5 inches of snow up there. Clay County. Clay County's looking at a trace to 1 inch in most locations. But you can see right there on the graphic there are a couple of blue spots over northern Clay County and then also over northeastern Randolph County. That's 2 inches. But again, you can't look at models this far out with and look at the details that close. But what this is telling us is an average of trace to 1 inch anywhere you see the gray on the map. And then those blue areas would be around 2 inches. Now, that blue area may end up being, it could end up being down in Tallapoosa County instead of Clay County. It could end up being over in Lafayette. That blue spot in Randolph County could end up being over Roanoke instead of up there in the northeast part of the county. But it would stand to reason that it's more likely to see that happen in the higher elevations. So I think the placement of that may be actually correct. We'll have to wait and see if this verifies. But generally speaking, all across East Alabama and West Georgia, trace to 1 inch with some localized spots seeing up to 2 inches. No, David, this is not going to be a 1993 snowstorm. It will have some similarities. I mean, we're going to have a lot of wind. We potentially could have a lot of snow, but this is not going to be this system will not be as well based on what we know right now. This system will be nowhere near as strong as the blizzard of '93. That low pressure system that we caught in 1993 was almost like a snow cane. I mean, that low pressure was almost as strong as a minimal hurricane, yet it was a cold core low pressure system. This one is going to be a cold core low pressure also, but the barometric pressure is not expected to drop out on this one anywhere close to what we saw in 1993. So maybe a mini 1993 is possible because we will have gusty winds. And there is a chance that we could see a decent snow up here in Cleveland, Georgia as well. That's I'm right down the road from you. I'm down here in the southwest corner of White County, right on the White Hall and Lumpkin County line. Thank you, Becky Farr. I sure do appreciate you and your family. Absolutely. And thank you for your support, your continued support with Dr. Don's weather. Thank you and Mr. Derek for all that you do for our community. We appreciate you guys as well. Thank you so much. Carrollton, you're in the trace to 1 inch area, maybe on the upper end of that. Inch and a half wouldn't surprise me in Carrollton. Hayesville, North Carolina, you better go and start digging out now. I haven't looked at your snow totals up there. Let me look. On average, yeah, you're probably in the 6 to 7 inch range as well up there in Hayesville, just across the Georgia state line. That is the ring around the moon is that's frozen water droplets. You know, old timers say that it does. I've heard that before, that a ring around the moon means that snow is on the way. Actually, I think there's some kind of little catchy phrase that goes along with that. I don't remember what it is. And I have heard people say that that means that snow is on the way, but what that is frozen water droplets in the extreme upper levels of the atmosphere. It means there's air, there's water droplets in the air that's frozen. That's what that halo is. Boy, do I remember Snow Jam '93. That is exactly what we called it, too. I had just moved to Roanoke, had been there. Well, that was my first winter in Roanoke. And I was sick. It wasn't COVID. I think I can say for sure it wasn't COVID in '93, but that felt like what people describe to me COVID is today. I was sick as a dog, and I remember going to bed that night. It was like in the upper 50s outside and just pouring down rain. And I'm going, these weather people have lost their mind. There's no way it's going to snow. Of course, James Spann, that whole bunch in Birmingham, was predicting some god-awful amount of snow. I can't remember what the prediction was. And I was sick. I remember I went to bed early that night. And sometime around 2 or 3 a.m. the next morning, Mr. Jim Vice called me. He owned the radio station. My phone rang, and I answered the phone. I said, hello. He said, Don, have you looked outside lately? I said, no, sir, I have not. I stood up in the bed and looked out the window, and my goodness gracious, it looked like the land of the misfits outside. I mean, it was snow almost all the way up to the bottom of the windowsill. So ended up having to get out and traverse downtown Roanoke and make it out to the radio station. It was out there across from the Learning Center at that time at the end of 22. And I spent the next 3 days inside that building, sick, and actually ended up getting a little snappy with people. And so finally, Mr. Vice said, after about 3 days, he said, son, I think you've had enough. You need to go back home. So going back, I had to cut my way in because we had trees down all over the place. It was just horrible. Yeah, and so this will be nothing like that. I don't think, not based on what we know right now. That's when me and Mr. Ron Dewberry got to be good friends during those 3 days because he was there. He came out the radio station and was representing Alabama Power, and he kept coming out and giving us updates on power outages and when they anticipate having everybody back up, and pretty cool stuff. Wedowee traced to 1 inch. Oglethorpe County, Georgia. It's another one of my counties. You're in that area where you could see more ice than the rest of the state. Anywhere between 85 and 20 is the area that we're concerned with icing. You could get up to around 1/4 inch of ice. You could also get between 2 and 4 inches of snow. And coupled with the wind on Sunday afternoon, that could cause some power issues. So Oglethorpe, you're in that area. Prepare for a 3-day primitive camping trip. Whatever you would need to take with you if you were going primitive camping, that's what you need to have in your home to be prepared to weather this storm on Sunday. Yeah, Valley, you're going to see some snow. I don't know that you get any accumulating snow. You're right there on 85. I think I-85 is going to be the cutoff for the accumulating snow, and even there in Valley, Chambers County, Troup County, you're on the low end. So you're probably looking at just a dusting there in the Valley area if you get any accumulation at all. But you will see snow. It will snow on Sunday in Valley, Alabama. And there could be some periods of heavy snow. I mean, that's not out of the question either. But I just don't think your ground's going to get cold enough for much accumulation there in Valley. If you get any accumulation at all, it most likely will be a dusting, and that'll be on the cold surfaces. I don't anticipate travel problems anywhere south of I-20 in Alabama. Well, thank you, Miss Lorraine Morris. She's one of our emergency managers. I'll be spending a good bit of time with her next Thursday, as a matter of fact. Blount County, Alabama. You're up there in that about 2-inch range, most likely, up there in North Alabama. I think you guys have got a winter storm. I think you were put under a winter storm watch. Don't hold me to that, but I think North Alabama, from about Blount County north, I think went under a winter storm watch. And typically that happens. That's the threshold for a winter storm watch, 2 inches. Anything less than that, they would handle it with a special weather statement. Wait a minute. We got somebody in New York City that originally is from Randolph County, Alabama. Wow. That's cool stuff. Wayne says he still has family that lives in Randolph, and it's good to be able to watch the weather report. Thank you for keeping us informed. Well, thank you, Wayne, and tell the Big Apple Dr. Don says hello. We appreciate you guys up there in New York watching us. I went to New York City one time, stood on the corner of Times Square for 2 hours, just in total amazement. And the first thing I saw was a Wiley Sanders truck from Troy, Alabama. Woodland, Alabama, you're in that trace to 1 inch area. Tallapoosa County, you're in that trace to 1 inch, but you're closer to the trace, I think. Yeah, Ken Hicks, you sure did. I remember that well. 93. You were right down the road out at Emergency Medical Transport. Clackville, there in northern Chambers County, trace to 1 inch. Roanoke, a trace to 1 inch is what we're looking at there, all across East Alabama. Calhoun, Georgia, may be in the 1 to 3 inch category. Probably closer to the 1 inch. 1 to 2 inches would be, I think, would be plausible for Calhoun. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, folks, it's coming up on 8:21. We have been going for an hour and 21 minutes. Said I was going to keep it to an hour, but you see that didn't work. So I'm going to give you a quick synopsis one more time, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. And again, I'll come back and do another live update. I think in lieu of doing the primetime forecast in the morning, I'm just going to do a live update in the morning because at this point, all everybody cares about is whether or not it's going to snow and how much is it going to snow. So the 6-day forecast, I can tell you after the snow quits, it's going to be cold for a couple of days, and then we're going to slowly warm back up. So we can get the forecast out of the way real quick. So I'll spend the majority of tomorrow morning just talking about snow, and I'll just do it live instead of pre-recorded. Carrollton, Bremen, near I-20, you're probably in the 1 to 2 inch range. So what you're looking at on the screen there is the latest NAM with the snow totals. And I tweaked it just a shade, not much. I stay pretty close to what the official National Weather Service forecast is. Always have and always will. Because those guys and gals at the Weather Service do a fantastic job. But anyway, up here in northeast Georgia, we're talking 6 to 7 inches, basically from 85 north. You're going to be down there around that 5 to 6 inch range along 85. And then as you go north, that will increase. But when you get up there at extreme northeast Georgia, we could be looking at some 10 plus inches of snow. And then down here in East Alabama and West Georgia, from I-20 south, we're typically talking about a trace to 1 inch. There could be some spots that could receive up to 2 inches. For East Alabama, you could see rain change over to a mixture of rain and snow anytime after sunrise Sunday, and then completely change over to all snow noonish on Sunday, and that will continue into Sunday afternoon and maybe lasting even into early Sunday evening, though I think the last couple of hours of your snowfall across East Alabama will be just light flurries. So that's what we're expecting. There's your timing. And that's what we know at this point. We'll monitor things throughout the rest of the evening. And I'll be back in here at 7 a.m. Central tomorrow morning with the latest information and a complete live Saturday morning winter storm update on Dr. Don's weather. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you back in here tomorrow morning, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Good night, y'all. No, Roanoke does not get left out. I just said it. A trace to 1 inch. Now, you're not going to be able to build a snowman in Roanoke, I don't think. But yes, Roanoke will see snow if the forecast is correct. I'll let you know tomorrow morning if we still think the forecast is correct. Good night. That was my encore. Night, y'all.